Hello everybody, welcome back to One Leeds, welcome back to another video. We are talking today about Weston Mckennie. It looks like, according to Fabrizio Romano, everything is agreed from Mckennie's side. It's agreed on the agent, the representatives. Yeah, it's all fine. He's agreed to the contract negotiations at Leeds United. It appears that he's invested in the project, according to Fabrizio Romano. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing here, don't have the quotes to hand, but it seems like Weston Mckennie is all in on Leeds United, which is great news, of course. You know, I mentioned it on the video yesterday. I think it is a big upgrade to someone like Matthias Klick. And that's all to say about it, really. But it looks like apparently the finer details are said to be hashed out between Leeds United and Juventus, more on the transfer deal. So I think the transfer deal is very important with this one because I don't think Leeds can be taken for a ride here. We know Juventus are begging for money at the minute. We know they're in financial crisis. What Leeds can't do is go down a merry dance led by Allegri and the Juventus board. We need to be able to really get a shrewd deal done here. And I'm really interested to get your comments, everybody. I gave my thoughts yesterday. There's 225 of you in the building already. Make sure you hit a like on the video. Make sure you comment. And as always, I'll try to read out as many as possible. If you want to sign up some bonus content, we had another video go out yesterday on the Patreon. Hit the link in the description below. So let's get in some of your comments. Huge upgrade, says Blake, to either play three in midfield instead of Aronson. That's a really good comment. I think Aronson needs moving on, really, in terms of just moving out the squad and just let him recuperate a little bit of form. I think we all know with Mckennie that he's going to have to be a tip of a midfield three. There's no way he can play in a double pivot. We know that he's definitely got restrictions there. Obviously, he's been playing in a much slower league. Juventus just haven't got going this season, probably quite similarly to Leeds, but it's going to be a big change for him in terms of the style of play. And I think the adaptability will be very, very interesting for Weston Mckennie coming into the Premier League. Pat Gallagher says, how long does Jesse deserve? How long does Jesse deserve with three new signings to bed in? With a mid-table squad now, so I'd say 4 or 5 games max. He's not going, Pat. There's no way, mate. I'd be stunned if he left now. Obviously, he's brought in Chris Armas from obviously the ex-Man United, Ralph Rangnick coach, brought him in only the other day. Allegedly that's all done, signed, sealed and delivered. They backed him to the hilt. Now you look at the RB signings, Christensen, Verber, Aronson, Adams, Mckennie comes in. Obviously, Aronson, I don't know if I mentioned him twice, but they are backing Jesse Marsch, backing him 100%, like we've probably not seen before. So, yeah, I don't think this is happening. I don't think he's losing his job or anything like that. I think it doesn't matter where we are. Where we are in the division, Jesse Marsch will retain his position at Leeds United. And I think it is because of the globalisation that the 49ers want to come in the summer, likely Leeds to be a Premier League club, and then to market Leeds United out to an American audience. I mean, you put anything out there now on Twitter or whatever, and the Americans are in the comments like droves. I've never seen it before. So yeah, welcome all. First time catching you live, Connor. If we got Weston, how would you rate our January transfer window? Great question, Matthew. I think it's been, you can't deny that. Once again, it's on the same point, Matt. I think they backed him. They fully backed him at the start of the window. I said I wanted a left back, I wanted a central midfielder, and I wanted a striker. That's what I said. I said, if I'm being really greedy, I want a central midfielder. But in the summer, I said we needed 9 players. 9 players. We needed regeneration, rejuvenation. You guys know I always use those buzzwords. We didn't do that. I thought we backed Jesse 100%, but I don't think we did everything that we needed to do. Now we've completed it. So now it's all on Marsch. He has to get this right. He has to start turning games around because he's been backed like really not many coaches in the bottom half of the league. Obviously with the summer recruitment, we spent a lot of money. Now if we get Mckennie in, I reckon Leeds are going to get taken for maybe like a 30-35 million transfer fee. Hope I'm wrong, but I think that's what it's going to be. 30-35 million for him. Then you're looking at Ruta, obviously coming in for 35 million. Verber, which has been 10 to 12 million quid. You're literally looking at way over 70 million quid, which is evidently being funded by the 49ers because Rads doesn't have that sort of money. So they are all in on Jesse Marsch, obviously bringing Armas in as well. So it's whether or not you think that's a good thing, whether or not you think that's a bad thing, I don't know. I think it's evident that they are ploughing everything into Jesse Marsch, to be honest. James in the building, hey mate. The board has backed Jesse all the way, so need to admit he's staying and get behind the American influence. I hope he can turn things around as he hasn't got any excuses with the depth in signing. There isn't, I'm not having it anymore that the players are all crap and, it's their fault and we don't have the quality anymore because you bring Mckennie in, you've brought Rutter in, you look at our forward line in terms of options now. Verba looks like a really decent centre-back. It's positive in terms of Leeds going forward, of course it is, but we need to be thinking that this is Marsch has to turn it round now. There's no excuses. It's safe says supposedly I've heard that Jesse Marsch wasn't the 49ers manager of choice and that they would get rid of him if they could. Take it with a pinch of salt. May just be wrong. Yeah. You could. I don't hope anything, but you could be right, mate. Obviously, we all want Jesse to succeed 100%. Yeah, I think we all want Jesse to succeed, and I think that's weird when you get fans coming on here saying, you want Jesse to fail. Not just to me, to all of you guys in the comment section when I can see you arguing. You want Jesse to fail. Nobody wants Jesse to fail. We're not weirdos. We've all supported Leeds United for our entire life. We want Jesse Marsch to do well. We're not these fickle supporters who just want him out because, it's Jesse Marsch and we're anti-American. What a weird mentality that is. It's never been the case. It never will be the case with Leeds fans. We back our manager until it becomes untenable. Kyle says, do you not think we need a better defence still? Kyle, I do, mate, but what do you do? What do you do, mate? We've got Verba in, who's a decent defender. You've now got Weston, Mckennie, probably. That's clearly going to happen, Mckennie, who's not a defensive midfielder by trade, so he's not going to be able to protect the back line. However, if he's part of a midfield three and the unit is working better, overall, if you've got a midfield three and it's working better, there's more synergy, there's more cohesion, we're going to be able to control the game. If you've got more quality further up the pitch, you're going to be able to control the game further up the pitch and therefore not let as many chances go through that midfield. If the midfield's stronger, midfield wins you games. So if the midfield is stronger, that will aid the defence 100%. If Mckennie gets the ideas, that will aid the defence. We've got Maximilian Verba there, who looks like a really good buy. I think he's been excellent so far. If he's a leader at the back, what more do we do? What more do Leeds do? Do they get rid of Christensen, cut the losses with him, get another centre back in, maybe replace Charlie Cresswell? I don't know. You can't just carry on saying, and this is for me where it does get a little bit frustrating. We can't just keep saying we need to replace the entire back line. We need to replace modicums of the entire team, which we kind of have done already. Jesse at some point has to prove that he is the manager that is going to get Leeds out of trouble and is going to be able to prosper with Leeds United, because I am fully on board with backing him, but he needs to prove it. You can't, we look at Marcelo Bielsa's side and the whole thing that surrounded Marcelo Bielsa was that Bielsa was able to improve players, and we all galvanised as a club and said, look at the wonderful things Marcelo Bielsa can do. He can just improve players. He is a proper coach. He just gets a player, makes them better. He did that with so many Leeds United players. There has to be a point where Jesse has to improve certain players as a coach. He has to do that. So now he's been given all the artillery, he's been given all the gifts, all the money. There has to be a point where maybe the defenders are improved under Jesse Marsch as well, because this isn't the worst defence the Premier League has ever seen, everybody. Not by a long shot. So, yeah. Watching from Netherlands, says Hans Boobel. Watch near the hometown of Cree Somerville. Great to hear, mate. Thoughts on selling Jackie? We now have Nonso, Cree and Cine who can all play on the left. It seems, Hans, that he's been playing a little bit more centrally, which has been quite good to see, to be honest with you. And he's been playing well, to be fair, Jack, in the last couple of games. So let's hope that improves. But yeah, I think he's definitely... There might be a point where he's surplus to requirements, put it that way. Is Mckennie fit enough for Marsch and the Prem? Heard that he likes his scran, yeah. I mean, if you've not watched the Juventus documentary, the part series on Amazon, have a watch of it. he comes back, and I don't think the manager at the time was that pleased with. I think it was Pirlo actually. Wasn't that pleased with how he was shape wise. But yeah, no. Listen, I'm sure he's developed. He's only a young lad. He's only 24 as well. So, am I thinking of someone else, or does Mckennie have an attitude problem? I mean, his hair colour alone would piss Keane off. Yeah, I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. Never watched a live in ages. Hope you're well, Connor. I would be well, mate, if we had all of you smashing the like button. It's absolutely free. Please make sure. Do it for this. Do it for this top. What do you reckon? Nice, isn't it? Yeah, make sure. I'm going to go to the Trafford Centre in this, right? So I'm going to go to enemy lines in a bit in this. So yeah, I need a like for that. I have to say, happy if this is the case, making real strides in the right direction this window. Yeah, and overall, Matt was saying it on the comment section, Blood, when I keep saying they backed him, I'm satisfied to an extent with the amount of backing he's got. And has the squad improved? Of course it is. You know, you bring in Maximilian Verber, clearly an improvement on what we have already. Clearly an improvement on that left-hand side to Liam Cooper, 100%. You can already tell that. You know, Weston Mckennie comes in. Is he going to be an improvement on Matthias Klick in terms of Matthias Klick right now? Yeah, I'd say so. And then obviously you bring in Rutter, and he's a £35 million player, a massive prospect, only 20 years of age, who is going to aid Leeds United's attack. Is he an improvement on whoever we've had up front? Of course he is. You know, and it's real depth. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not hammering Jesse here whatsoever. I'm not. But he's been given the tools now. Now it's time to improve players. Now it's time to improve the defence. Now it's time to start getting results. Mckennie has the same energy as Adams has. Take the appearance out of the question. He has a good energy about him and can be very box to box. Yeah, he'll get goals. That's one thing Mckennie will do. He'll get goals, and he's going to be a proper goal scorer in midfielder, which is something that we've not had in a while, really. A proper out-and-out goal scoring. And listen, a lot of people have been speaking about him being linked to Arsenal and been linked to Spurs, so it's unbelievable that Leeds have got the deal done. Of course, and you're right, but it's a very different system. You look at how unique our system is in comparison to any other system in the Premier League. Mckennie has to fit that. And that's why Leeds are a bit of a strange club in terms of our philosophy right now, because there's nobody in the Premier League who plays like Leeds United. So we can talk about him going to Arsenal and talk about him going to Spurs, but coming to Leeds is a very unique fit. It's a very unique fit. So using that as a comparative, obviously it shows his quality. It shows his quality that these teams are looking at him, but fitting in their style in comparison to fitting into Leeds United style is arguably an easier fit for him at these top clubs fitting into their style. I think it's more difficult to fit into this new Leeds United way of playing. Mckennie was the player who cleaned the ball on the camera without saying anything in the England game. I don't know about that, mate. Let's have a look. Deal not done yet. Yeah, we've not said that, Jim. We've just said that personal terms have been agreed. Apparently, it's all on the fee. Bielsa to Everton looking stronger and stronger. Bike rider, no chance. Absolutely no chance. I'm not having it. I did an interview with the Liverpool Echo yesterday, and I was going on talking about my thoughts on Marcelo Bielsa. And there's no way. There's no way. We remember with Bielsa the preparation that man needed, the meticulous ideas that had to be put into place, the money that had to be shelled out for his backroom staff. Apparently Bielsa, if he wants to go to Everton, wants £1 million a month. Yeah, good luck with that one, with Everton in that financial strife that they're in, and he doesn't fit. There's no way that, there's no way he should be going into Everton, who are bottom of the table in disarray, and trying to improve that squad. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So yeah, I'd be stunned. I really would be. And according to multiple sources, turned that down anyway. Vic Vinegar says, I think a change to a 4-3-3 would help this team as well. Allows Adams to play deeper and the wingers to play wider. Vic, that's going to happen. There's no chance if they get Mckennie in and Mckennie's starting week in, week out. I reckon Jesse's looking at that US mould. I know the style of play is very, very different, but when you look at that combination, Musa, Adams, and I mean, absolutely, what I'd have done for Musa. What a player he is, only 19 years of age as well at Valencia. Musa, Mckennie and Adams, you look at that three, that's what he'll be trying to replicate. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how he does that. But in a 4-2-3-1 system, I think we've got too many options in that central attacking midfield role, to be honest with you. However, Mckennie can play as a shadow striker. When you watch Mckennie, he's pretty much a shadow striker anyway. Raul says, as someone who has always tried to back Marsch, I have to admit, I think a better coach would certainly get better results with this team we've got on paper relative to the teams around us. Raul is 100% right. This is what I'm trying to say with Marsch. There's no excuses anymore. If you bring Weston Mckennie in, I'm not having all the players are rubbish, all the players are this, that and the other. Marsch needs more time and all this sort of stuff. This isn't me calling for him, by the way. As I say multiple times, you have to do this as a disclaimer. I want him to do well. The thing is, this has got to be a turning point now with the amount he's been backed in January. When have we ever known Leeds United to back a manager like this in January? It's never happened. It's literally never happened. So, nearly probably more than 70 million quid spent, which is the likelihood. And I'm just putting a mindset valuation on what Mckennie's going to cost there, by the way. Initial talks were 15 million quid the other day, apparently, that Juve wanted, but we're hearing stuff already today and the other day that it's going to be 30, 35 million. So if that is the case, he's been fully backed. So, he's got quality there, quality at his disposal, 100%. Does Rutter play this weekend? I think so, Sam. I don't get the whole USA hatred on social media. They turn up and play for the badge and they get my support. Don't care whether. Miles, I agree with you, bud. I don't see any of that though. I don't see any of that. I get a lot of, and I think my fellow content creators who are Leeds content creators who give American players a lot of slack. Even if they've had a bad performance, we're always bigging the American players up. We give them maybe a little bit of constructive criticism every now and again. And, I think it's the opposite to that, mate. I think you just get absolutely hammered when you do that. And then, social media tirades after you forever criticising an American player. But no, mate, I think it's got absolutely nothing to do with them being American. It's to do with them being good enough. That's it. And it seems a little bit of a strange thing. When people just blame it on them being American, it's very odd. But yeah, it is what it is. If they back Bielsa with as much money, he would still be here, probably winning the league. Maybe not winning the league, Dave, but yeah, I mean, they didn't. Obviously, I mean, there's no comparison. They did not back him as much as they backed Marsch, and I was one of the ones who was saying Marcelo needed to leave. But it's literally just facts. They did not back him as much as they backed Jesse Marsch. I think that's to do with the marketing. That's to do with the new owners. That's to do with all that sort of stuff, which is compartmentalizing the fact that if we stay in the Premier League, we are going to be marketing ourselves to a US audience, it's smart from the club. It is smart from the club. I'm American. Welcome, Andy. No problem with Americans whatsoever, as you'll have seen on the fan forum when we had a great time with a bunch of fantastic Americans who were on the show. Buzzing with the transfer windows. 49ers have knocked out of the park. Happy Leeds fan today. Yeah, I think so, Ian. I think it's definitely an improvement across the pitch in the January transfer window, which is definitely a good thing for Leeds United. I can't disagree with that. Sky Italy said that was close to Suter. Shame that. I don't know where he's gone. I'm trying to think. Is that Suter, the Stoke player? I'm not seeing anything on that, to be fair. Benjamin says, been to every game this season and personally I've seen the same things. Jack Harrison can't make a corner go past the first man. Harrison gives the ball away and gets pushed off way too easily. Well, Benjamin, you bang on. Harrison's got a pass completion rate of 62.3% this season. Brendan Aronson has a pass completion rate this season of 75%. Now, the question is, in a wider system where they have more space to play into, where passes are much easier, I should say, than just fine bits between the lines which have to make the player, you're only playing through tight space and the passes have to be crisp and perfect every single time. If they were playing in a wider system, a more expansive system, would their passing stats and everything else be higher up? I probably would argue yes. However, when we have been playing in this narrow system and other players have maybe been thriving in terms of being, a little bit more efficient with their passing, Aronson but I've always said that with Jack. Jack's continuously been like that, and that's why I always get frustrated with him. He is unfortunately a player who is very hot and cold. Called him hot and cold Harrison for about 3 years now, and you need to be consistent for the importance of Jack Harrison. He needs to be consistent, and his passing isn't consistent, his goals aren't consistent, his assists aren't consistent, and at the minute his form isn't either. Sully says, Connor, is that an old Marvick Hydra top? It's not. It's I think it's 96. It's the 96 training top. I love it. I paid a lot of money for this on eBay. Absolute idiot. But yeah, I get my worth out of it. Harrison to Arsenal, I'd be stunned. No chance. Maybe the Newcastle thing makes a little bit more sense. Charlie says Greenwood is the only one who can take a consistent corner. I don't understand why professional footballers can't beat the first man. Yeah, Charlie, it's probably the most frustrating thing I watch on a football pitch when players can't beat the first man. But it's the top players as well, Charlie. Some of the top players, unless you've got James Ward-Prowse in every corner, the top players do it as well. Thoughts on Rockus' JP? Oh, you're going to get me going here, Jay. My dad slags him off every game, but I think he's like Click. You have to zoom out to see what he does to appreciate him. Causes arguments every game between us. JP, the system impacts Mark Rocker probably the most. Marc Roca, if you ever watched him at Espanyol, and if you've ever watched him for moments at Bayern Munich, literally go and watch his YouTube compilations. It's getting the ball, switching the ball left, switching the ball right. Very much Calvin Phillips in the 4-1-4-1 Bielsa system. An exquisite passer of the ball, a very, very intelligent footballer. Someone who's still in a system where he can only pass 2 yards either side of himself through a compact, narrow, vertical way of playing, has still got one of the highest progressive passes in the Premier League, one of the highest passing efficiencies in the Premier League. Mate, I don't know what people are watching when they look at Marc Roca. I've heard people say Greenwood over Marc Roca. Bail me out. I'm done. I'm done when I hear that. I'll switch the channel off. I'll go to bed. We won't do this anymore. Someone can take over the channel. I just can't. It is nuts to me. I don't overrate Marc Roca whatsoever. I want to see Marc Roca's attributes made clear and evident, which I think he's got so much more in the tank which he could offer this side. I mean, you literally saw against Brentford at the weekend. Him and Adams were superb, and he's threading balls through the eye of a needle, because Brentford were packing the midfield out like every other team will do against Leeds and against a narrow system. And Marc Roca is having to find these tiny spaces in between the lines to go forward. Yet his progressive passes are one of the top in the Premier League, and still he gets slagged off. Mate, for me, it's staggering. I do not understand it. And let's see, if you put Greenwood in there for a period of 10 games, how much that midfield starts to wane. But yeah, for me, I think that the downturn in his form is because he cannot be expansive in his play, so he can't use his best attributes. That's my thought. Need to get behind Jesse and behind the team. Back the team. That's our strength. We don't want to be like Everton and that toxicness. Yeah, okay, Jonathan, I agree with that, mate. But we can criticise when criticism's due. I'm not just going to come on here every now and again and just say everything's fine, everything's dandy. I mean, we are 1 point above the relegation zone. I don't want signings to override where we actually are and what's actually going on here. 2 wins in 16. That's not being negative. It's not being cynical. It's not being pessimistic. That is me looking at what's happened. That is me objectively looking at the league table right now. Leeds are still in a lot of danger, and make no bones about this, Nottingham Forest is a must win. It's a must win. Must win. We have to start winning some games, and if a promoted team isn't a target, who is a target? Really. So yeah, 100%, mate. I agree. We need to be positive. We need to back everybody. That's absolutely fine. But at the same time, the criticism needs to be laid at the door of certain people if it's not going right. And we need to be going to Nottingham Forest and winning. I'm sick of this mentality of, it doesn't matter. We've got a draw. We're building. We're progressing. No, they're a newly promoted team. We go to Nottingham Forest and we say, we're Leeds United. We're going to play our way, and we're going to beat you. That has to happen. I'm sick of hearing all these excuses. So yeah, we need to go there and win. And if we don't go there and win, I'm not going to come on here and say, it's all hunky-dory, it's fine. We're only a point ahead of the relegation zone when we spent all this money. Is Jesse moving to a midfield 3 then? I think so, mate. I'd be surprised if we didn't. Mckennie isn't a pivot though. Yeah, and Snore, you bang on, and that's what people need to take into consideration. That's why I think we're going to move to a 4-3-3. As I say, I think he's going to try replicate that US midfield 3. Does Adams take the captain's armband before the end of the season? He should have it now, mate. Should have it now. Building better performances mean nothing come the end of the season if you ain't picking up the wins. Hannah, me and you always agree, and you bang on. There's got to be a point where building and progressing and elevating has got to come to a point where, you've actually got to start seeing wins on the board and not just performances. And that's what I mean. 4 games coming up. Let's hope Mckennie comes through the door very quickly and we can get it sorted. We can end the January transfer window. No last minute hoodah and all this sort of stuff. And let's start progressing nicely and getting up that table, hopefully. Okay, Martin says, I think you are incorrectly using the explanation of a narrow play style. It does not mean that there is little or no wide play. It means how players move when the ball is in a certain area. Well, it's all much of a muchness, Martin. Okay, it's all much of a muchness, but when Leeds United get the ball and we are going forward, it's very, very narrow and we're not being expansive and we're not utilising overlaps and we're not utilising us being on the touchline and isolating fullbacks. That is a narrow, compact, vertical system for me. If you're not doing that, then you're in. I don't really know how the narrow play style is utilised. We're narrow when it comes to defending and we're narrow when it comes to attacking. So even though we still need a left back, what do you think about Firpo? I think he has some work if he's to be a solid fullback in terms of defence, but it's clear he has the skills. I think you look at Rasmus at Denmark and you look at Firpo at Real Betis. I think they'd both be utilised better in a back three. And we've always said that because that's what they were previously. You know, look at Rasmus, why he always plays well for Denmark. He plays as a right wing back. You know, that's where he's got his notoriety for the Danish national side. So we bought two players in who don't play as standardised right and left backs. They play further up the pitch, and we've utilised them not in their most effective positions. So that's why sometimes there are questions when it comes to recruitment. But Firpo is not a bad player. He's not a bad player, but I think his decision making is woeful. I think his focus is poor. I don't think he's great one-on-one, but I think technically as a player, he's evidently a good player. I just don't know if we're going to see that consistency. Who knows? Simon says, we'll see how good Jesse is or not after these new signings. Yep. 100%, mate. I'd agree. Josh McDonald says there'd be nothing better than a shithousery 1-0 away win at Forest. We need to start winning and get that momentum going. Josh, there's nothing I'd love more, mate. 1-0s to the end of the season. 1-0s to the end of the season. We just need just a change in form, a change in results. You know, and that's hopefully what these new signings are going to bring, a little bit of impetus. People saying if we back Bielsa like this, he would still be here, but Bielsa probably wouldn't have wanted half these players because certain stats wouldn't have matched up for him. But Nathan, would that have been a problem? And he was right about Donny van der Beek, wasn't he? He was right about Harry Winks. Where are they now? So yeah, 100% I agree with what you were saying, but you know, would we have just had players like Donny van der Beek and Harry Winks at the club on extortionate wages if another manager had been here? You know, a lot of the time Bielsa knew what he wanted, you know, to fit his system. So yeah, I mean, as I said multiple times, I thought it was the end of the road for Bielsa, but when, you know, you're looking at a bench throughout the entire last 6 months of his tenure at Leeds United, and it is flooded with 15-year-olds. And in the first team, we've just got Crocs who are going out left, right, and centre. And we were still 2 points above the relegation zone. In a strange sort of way, you've got to look at Bielsa and think, you know, that is a minor miracle, really. So listen, we in my opinion would have gone down with Bielsa. I do still die on that hill, but you know what he was doing was still amazing in a strange sort of way, even though we were getting walloped. I'm going to the FA Cup Saturday, first time to Accrington. Well done, mate. Sounds good. So different note, Cock out for Forest. Do we play left bow? Firpo at left back and Pascal at centre back, or does Cooper come in? I think, I do think you go Firpo at left back, and I think it's a toss of the coin at the minute between Pascal and Cooper, because I think Pascal's really struggling, especially when he goes centre back. What about the Keane rumours? Connor, please tell me. No, I've not heard anything solid on that, Daniel, until it's Fabrizio or until it's a real proper tick on social media. I don't really jump into those sorts of rumours. If not for those really bad results in January and February, Marcelo would still likely be here. Snore, and they didn't back him, did they, in January? But, you know, as you know, I mean, I was a bit sceptical of Bielsa and him saying no to all of these players, but he was proven right. You know, I was one of those saying, well, what about Donny van der Beek? Would he have been a good signing? But then he went to our rivals in the same position and he was absolutely terrible, absolutely awful. And Dele Alli was another one, wasn't he? Leeds fans were really upset we didn't take players like this at the time. People have got short memories, but Bielsa turned around and said no. And was that the correct decision? Probably, yeah. But yeah, did the board fully back him? Who knows? I mean, apparently they were talking to Jesse Marsch for around about 6 months, so you'd probably say no. Harrison to Leicester, I don't think so, mate. I'd be surprised on that one. The other problem is if Mckennie is part of a midfield three with Adams and Rocker, and obviously either Bamford or Rodrigo go up front, that only leaves 2 spots in the team to fit about 6 players. Somerville, Rutter, Cini, Harrison, Nonto, and Aronson. Yeah. 100%. I mean, for me, you can take 3 out of that equation anyway, mate, to be honest with you. Somerville, Harrison and Aronson are not in that conversation for me at the minute. I think you're picking between Rutter, Sinisterra and Nonto, aren't you? So, is this a transitional player we need, potentially? Guys, if you want to smash a like on this video, that'd be great as well. I've been going for about 40 minutes now. It'd be fantastic if we could get those likes up to about 400. That'd be amazing. About 8 changes in the cup. Some players need minutes. Sinisterra, Bamford, Firpo. Munchy Toy says, all this talk of not backing Bielsa as if Marsch has been given preferential treatment. As I recall, Bielsa didn't want the players mentioned. Leeds will turn this around. Who told you that, Munchy? Was it Angus Kinnear by any chance on some certain podcasts? Yeah, because he was always going to come out and said we didn't back him, wasn't he? That's always what he's going to come out and say to the public. But yeah, no, listen, I understand he was very, very picky, but come on. Like, let's not be that naive when it comes to the message the board give out. Gil says, hi Connor, how are you? I'm good, mate, all good. I've heard Arsenal are trying to hijack the deal. Yeah, that'd be interesting because obviously he's agreed terms with Leeds United. But I mean, if Fabrizio comes out and says it, then he comes out and says it. Hopefully we've got a different player there. But yeah, I mean, as I say, I mean, with the Mckennie signing, I'm happy with it. I'm not over the moon with it at all. As I say, I've wanted Onahi from the start, and I'd have loved that one. I think that'd have been a fantastic addition. So Mckennie's decent. I'm happy with it. It's an improvement, but yeah, I'm not over the moon. But it is what it is. It's an improvement, isn't it? It's an improvement on what we have. As of right now, which 3 teams do you predict will go down? I think Everton are gone. And then it's toss the coin. And we're in the mix, 100%. You can't say we're not in the mix. Form table, we're bottom 3 as it is. And we've won 2 in 16. So Everton are down. I think they're in big trouble. And then there's so many. Southampton, Leeds, Forest. I actually don't think Forest will go down. Leicester, I guess, are in the mix, but I think they're just a bit too strong. So yeah, it's gonna be a tense ending. Things need to turn around quickly. Bournemouth, Southampton, Everton. Bournemouth have got a fair few players to come back though, haven't they? So, who's the best signing so far for you, Connor? If you mean overall. I'd probably say Rutter. I like that Rutter signing, to be honest with you, so I'd go with him. If we sign Mckennie, then Jesse has no excuses with the squad. Absolutely none. Yeah, don't worry. I've just tried to whack that back in. Don't know why it does that every now and again. Southampton gone, in my opinion. How will Rutter fit into the squad? Because it seems as though him and Rodrigo would be a good link-up. Yeah, potentially, mate. I guess that's for Jesse to figure out. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Really appreciate your comments. Please make sure you're liking the video. As I say, this has just been really spontaneous. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you are... We are live, aren't we? Everyone, the joys of going live. But yeah, guys, really appreciate that, and I'll be back with the live stream very soon. Have a good one, and I will see you in a bit. Cheers.